Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Attorney John Deaton says that he believes that the SEC is in, quote, full cover-up mode, end quote, and he announced a call to action to uncover, let's say, the mishappenings surrounding the SEC versus Ripple case. Now, of course, most of you at this point will recall that just a couple days ago, we had a major bombshell drop, and huge news. We found that former SEC director Bill Hinman was informed by the ethics office that certain behaviors, should he engage in them, would be, not allowed, let's say, and also criminal. And then he did engage in those behaviors. Specifically, he met with at least one partner from his former law firm several times, and there's probably a whole lot more. That's what Attorney John Deaton is thinking. And I suspect that may very well be the case because the SEC seems to be just scrambling to hide everything that he can. And so John Deaton, as a result of this, is asking for the help of the XRP community. I'm going to show you exactly what he's looking for. And I will say this. What we've discovered to this point, it is a result of the entirety of the efforts of the community, and different people play different roles. But most people, even just, on Twitter, which is where a huge swath of our XRP community lives, even just on Twitter, hitting like on stuff, which gets it in notification feeds, retweeting all of that stuff, and then more people see it, and then more people see it. It's gigantic. The degree to which this is getting out there is substantial. And the reason I think that Charles Gasparino of Fox Business ended up covering this is because his news feed was blowing up. There are people like the Digital Asset Investor and Brad Kimes and many others that were putting out all sorts of tweets. We were all talking about it, but those were the ones in particular that, got retweeted endlessly. So many people hitting like and retweet. All of that mattered. All of what everybody listening to this that did any of that, like all of that matters. And that's what's been getting the attention of important people that can really bring a magnifying glass to all of this for the general public. And John Deaton saying, hey, there's more work to be done, and he's just humbly, respectfully asking for help. And we're all working together here. We're all playing our roles. So I'm going to continue to use my platform to share everything that I can that comes from Attorney John Deaton on this. It's of critical importance. This is a highly consequential case. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Oh, and by the way, worth mentioning this too, and I'll share more, but Attorney Deaton fully expects to have to sue the SEC yet again for refusing to hand over documents after a FOIA request. But let me start with this comment first, and then we're going to get right into the main thread here. John Deaton wrote just yesterday, I'm looking forward to when Hinman is asked publicly about the gross conflicts in his behavior. Make no mistake about it, he will say the following. When I was at the SEC, I wasn't aware Simpson Thacher was a member of the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. He will then proceed to minimize the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance membership. Yep. What else can he do? Because if he doesn't, he's definitely in serious legal trouble, or as close to definite as possible. Let me word it this way to be more precise. It seems to me, with not having a legal background, but just from what I've gathered from attorneys that have spoken about this, he would be in some serious legal hot water. He'd be in some serious trouble, more likely than not. So I'll word it that way. So what do you think he's going to do? And that's why what we've got to uncover, and I actually mentioned this a couple days ago, what we need to uncover, and this is a big part of what John Deaton's getting at here, as you'll see as we go through this, we need to find the proof that he did know that his firm, Simpson Thacher, was working directly with the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. And so here's what Attorney John Deaton had to say. Call to action, #XRP community. I need the internet sleuths to start digging. As bad as it already looks for Hinman, I firmly believe his involvement and his conflicts are even greater than presently known. I also believe the SEC has been in full cover-up mode. The SEC made a false statement when it originally stated there were no responsive documents relevant to the Empower Oversight FOIA requests. Only after Jason Foster and Empower filed suit in federal court did they realize the error and correct the falsehood, because Empower didn't fold. So I'll just pause to note, make sure that everybody knows what's being discussed there. Empower Oversight is the nonprofit entity that was founded by Jason Foster, who was also mentioned in this tweet, Empower Oversight sued the SEC in December because there was a Freedom of Information request, and it seemed very clear to Empower Oversight that the SEC was just stonewalling. They're like, well, there's nothing here. They initially said no, and they didn't want to hand stuff over. And there's some pushback, but Empower Oversight kept fighting. And they're like, oh, it's like, oops, the doodles. Yeah, there's all sorts of documents, actually. Here you go. Here are some. And then they sent them like 1,000 pages in a terrible format. I talked about that previously on the channel. Like, it was like some of the pages were impossible to read. And I can't help but imagine that was done intentionally to make things worse, but they technically handed over the documents, so whoops-a-doodles, right? Freaking asshats at the SEC. Anyway, John Deaton continues. Likewise, the SEC initially informed me the Hinman calendar was not used for official government reasons and denied my FOIA request. I appealed and it's on remand, but I fully expect to sue them for violating FOIA before they turn over his calendar. Why are they fighting so hard? So I'll just pause to note, FOIA is FOIA, Freedom of Information Act in the United States. You can, as an everyday citizen, request documents from various government entities. And of course, there are certain restrictions. National security is obviously a very real thing. But there are certain documents that you can request, and there's an office that will review the requests. And if it's within certain parameters, then they're sent out. And it's just an effort to have additional transparency for the general public. It's a very good thing. So that's what's being discussed right here. This is what the SEC is fighting against. They're fighting to make sure that there is not transparency because these are terrible people. They are absolutely despicable. John Deaton continues. Look closely at Hinman's redacted deposition testimony. On page 37, the Ripple lawyers ask a question about whether a specific company or entity was a client of Hinman's or his law firm's. The SEC redacted the identity of that entity. Why? On page 38, Hinman said he didn't think they were a client, but were involved in matters he was involved in. Whose identity was redacted? Was it the Brooklyn Project? I ask because the next one asked about is whether Consensus was a client. He said no. And we know Sullivan and Cromwell represented Consensus. Then they ask if Hinman represented the Ethereum Foundation, and he replied no. But look what happened when the Ripple lawyer expanded the definition of the Ethereum Foundation on page 38. The next 3 pages are redacted. Let's think about this. When he was asked about Ethereum Foundation, what did he say? He said no. There's no sort of connection. There's no representation. And then when the definition of Ethereum Foundation was expanded, well, we got to cover up the next 3 pages. Now, of course, Ripple's attorneys, they know what was said. We just, in the public, the SEC wants this covered. Why might that be? They don't want us to see that. And right after that question, what in the ever-loving hell, folks? There is something going on here. This does not pass the smell test. Period. And then John Deaton writes the following. Why hide the answer from the public? As the digital asset investor stated, we need to focus on Hinman and Simpson Thacher's involvement in any crypto platform or project from 2014 until he arrived at the SEC. Who was he involved with? My instinct tells me there is much more to uncover. Yes, absolutely. I firmly agree with you, John Deaton. That's what I'm suspecting as well. And that's why, again, I said 2 days ago when this major, I think it was 2 days ago, right? When this major news broke about the clearly unethical behavior of Bill Hinman. I said, there's got to be more out there. And what we need to find is proof that Billy Boy Hinman did, in fact, know that the Ethereum Alliance, Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, did have that connection with his law firm, Simpson Thacher. That would be the smoking gun of smoking guns on this front. That would be huge. Now, is it out there? Well, if it's out there, the XRP community is going to, if it's anywhere publicly available, or if we can get it through Freedom of Information Act requests, the XRP community is going to find it. And all of you listening, if you care to, you can participate. You know, even if you don't have a Twitter account, sign up. By the way, even if you hate Twitter, like, by the way, as an adult man, when I signed up for this in 2017, I did it begrudgingly. I didn't really want to do it. I did it purely to participate in crypto. And then as I got more involved in XRP, it really was just XRP. almost entirely from the beginning, frankly, is primarily focused on XRP information because that's where I was most interested in research. I was like, wait a minute, an actual use case for a cryptocurrency? You're kidding me, because Bitcoin doesn't really do anything. That's anyway. So I digress a bit, but all that to say, if you're not on Twitter, yes, it's absolutely an awful cesspool, but you can just block anybody that you don't like that says a bunch of nonsense stuff that's talking about stuff unrelated to what you're interested in, and you can participate. And I'm telling you, even if you think you don't have a voice, it's just not true. I'm telling you, if you're noisy enough, and you should be, you can tag me and stuff. You can tag any content creator out there on YouTube or any blogger, mainstream media. Just tag, just be noisy. And I can't see everything in my news feed because it's always blowing up. But I will say this, if people are constantly tagging me and stuff, it does catch my eye. I can't. It's too much. It's information overload. But if somebody is, it does catch my eye. And that's true of anybody else in the XRP community. So even the people that have large followings in the XRP community, I'm telling you, like, what I'm trying to get across is don't feel like you can't contribute if you don't have a huge following. It's just not true. There are a lot of people that started, everybody started out with 0 followers, right? And so just by contributing, more and more people notice that, and then that gets retweeted, and then people actually do end up following. And so, like, there are some accounts that were not that big even, a little over a year ago, but started really researching what's going on with this nonsense with Ripple and SEC, and now they're big accounts, like sometimes with tens of thousands of followers, and it's for good reason. And so if you have the itch, just don't feel like you can't do it because you're too small or you're just starting out. It's just not true. I used to have 0 followers, right? Anybody can if so interested, if you've got the time and the willpower for it. And so that's why the reason I'm focusing on that here towards the end of the video is just to point out, again, John Deaton says this is a call to action. That's why I wanted to emphasize that. I'm telling you, the community will work together, and if you've got something, if you find something, the community will eventually catch on to that. Just be noisy about it. Keep insisting, no, guys, really look at this. Enough people will look at it. It will get retweeted, and then we'll all be talking about it. There's also this from attorney John Deaton. He wrote, on January 1st, 2021, 9 days after the SEC versus Ripple case was filed, I wrote the following in a writ of mandamus. And this is a quote. Maybe the mere filing of the complaint was the end game for Clayton, end quote. In hindsight, I should have added, and Hinman. Otherwise, it turned out pretty accurate. And this is what he's talking about. This is the original writ of mandamus, January 1st last year, 2021. And I want to read just a portion of it. Clayton chose to file, quite possibly, the most significant SEC enforcement action in 76 years as he was walking out to the door after allowing the digital asset XRP be sold for 7 years, leaving a new administration to deal with the aftermath. A different political party is assuming control, and it is quite possibly, if not likely, that they withdraw and or amend and limit the complaint's scope and allegations related to XRP. Maybe the mere filing of the complaint was the end game for Clayton. Yeah, exactly. And I'll point out that he was right. The SEC did end up amending the initial legal complaint, and I think it was in February of 2021, maybe towards the end of the month. I'm just kind of pulling from memory here. But folks, this is gigantic, and I'll just say again, don't be afraid to relentlessly tag me or anybody else in the XRP community. Like, I don't think anybody in the XRP community minds being relentlessly tagged with stuff relevant to this case. Seriously, if somebody says, okay, that's too much, then yeah, I respect that. But I think pretty much all of us, especially us YouTubers in the XRP community, like even though we can't respond to everything, we do appreciate everybody doing their best to get all of this news out. And I retweet stuff all the damn time. So I just encourage you to not be afraid to just tag everybody that's important in the community relentlessly. If they don't respond, it doesn't mean they're snubbing you. I promise you that. People, like, the odds of you getting snubbed now, it's like almost 0, to be honest with you. Like, we're all working together. I think we all have the right mindset and attitude on that stuff. So I just want to emphasize that again, since John Deaton put out this call to action, and he is right. We could all use this. It's highly consequential. We need to do everything we can to continue to get this story out. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.